the regular people, the majority of the 2 million people. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a small group of insurgents. So this is how I'll give you guys the analogy. This is the best analogy, right? Like, let's say, for example, that Mexico wasn't its own country, but was just something that we occupied and kept. We had a fence around it and we sort of just like kept people there. And let's say one day a militant group in Mexico decided to cross the militarized fence and attack a whole bunch of innocent people. That's what they decided to do. A small group of people that have been confined in cages broke free and attacked innocent people. And then it would be like if we then just dropped a bomb on Mexico City.
Yeah.
Like we're just going to drop a bomb on Mexico City. Now, granted, that's even being generous because, you know, obviously in the Mexico scenario, they're not encaged, you know, like but and they actually,
but
people here are trying to go there.
But here's this distinction that Socially Mate wants us to, you know, again, no one is here defending Hamas.
No.
Like, this is the fact that it even needs to be said is ridiculous.
But it does. So let me be very clear that I condemn all violence by Hamas, by everybody. And I'm never in favor of innocent people getting killed. That being said, I do think it's important to look at the context so as we can prevent it.
How did they come about?
Right. Well, because the problem is now what's happening is that when you've got Gaza having a population of 50% are minors or not adults. I don't want to say children because there's a lot of people that are teenagers. But when you have a population that size of that age, and this is what they're going through, then 10 years down the road, you have your next set of terrorists. Right. So I look at this from the perspective of you are creating more people to want to join the insurgency, to join Hamas, because they see no other option. They see no other option. And for people who look at it like, oh, well, they elected Hamas, they did. And it was, from my understanding, a fair election. And it was in 2006. And that's the last time they've had elections there. So it's not exactly what I would call a robust democracy. And it's like when we look at things that our government's doing that we don't agree with, can you imagine? And we have, you know, considerably fairer elections here than in other. I don't think so. But like, how can you hold 2 million people accountable for the actions of a very, very slim minority of people? And the reason is you don't. You just truly want to genocide them, and you're using this as the pretext to do so. Because there's no way that they don't know the percentage of people. What percentage of people in Gaza are Hamas people? It's got to be like less than 1%.
If you want to know how these terror cells and all these anti-American, Israeli organizations end up forming, this is going to be a pretty good insight as to why that is the case. And one thing to point out, which we had mentioned in our headline at the top, MSNBC anchors of Islamic extraction, Mehdi Hassan Ehsan and Ali Velshi, are no longer hosting.
Now, wait a minute. Now, we know that they are Arabic, but do we know that they're Muslim? They could be Christians. I don't freaking know.
No, they're Muslim.
Well, regardless, I don't think it would have mattered. That's my point. I don't think it would have mattered if they weren't Muslim. I think it's honestly the appearance of somebody being Arabic that is the issue more than the fact that they're Muslim.
So let's see just how bad corporate media actually is on this issue. You thought Ukraine was bad. That's child's play compared to this.
And so it's going to be absolutely critical for the Biden administration to put the muscle of the United States behind the president's words. You know, the president has talked about Israel's right to defend itself, and credit where credit is due. He gave a good speech. But the real test is going to come when those critics of Israel start to point their fingers and wag their fingers and say, guys, settle down, it's too much. That's when the United States needs to intervene to make sure our friends can finish the job.
عملية قصف جديدة طالت هذه هي الصورة كما تتابعونها الآن القصف مصور بها.
Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, a soldier all his life, has never seen anything like it.
This is a massacre scene. I don't have any other recall of memory in the history of Israel since it was established of this kind of event.
This is just a fraction of the weapons the Israeli military has recovered from Hamas fighters in the field. I want to just walk you through some of the items here. This is a thermobaric bomb. This is a weapon designed to create heat of up to 3,000 degrees instantaneously. And the Israeli military says Hamas terrorists use these to incinerate whole families inside of their houses.
Hostage rescue, which Israel didn't invent, the Brits did, but we certainly perfected it. You know, again, going back to June 3rd, 76, we brought back 103 Israelis being held hostage by Black September. We did it again in 1988 when we took down a bus, the first ever bus that was taken down in southern Israel. We took down the first aircraft. So Israel is no junior varsity when it comes to this. They are masters at the craft. As you have grandmothers, grandfathers, babies whose parents were murdered in front of them, being held up in the air by Hamas. And you've got civilians that are essentially placed throughout Gaza.
As a nation, rising up as a lion is against evil, and we will uproot evil so that there will be good for the entire region and the world.
As you know, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is vowing to eliminate Hamas. How does Israel define that?
So one has to understand, what do we have in Gaza? We have a whole army of terrorists, a whole army of vultures, a whole army of inhumane, cruel people within civilian premises, within their own homes and families. They shoot their missiles at our children from their homes, from their shops, from their mosques.
This is a real issue. We need to unite and we need to stand strong and remember what worked in Iran during the hostage crisis. It was not appeasement. It wasn't weakness. They waited. Reagan came in, and we got our hostages back.
But does that mean does that mean starve the Palestinian people? Continue to, because they will be so hungry and will be so desperate for water and medicine that then they will give up Hamas?
It sounds callous, but I mean, this is a war.
Sounds callous, but we have to kill them. That's what he's saying. It sounds callous, and we're cold-blooded bastards. But war is profitable, and we're going to make a lot of money off of this. And that is the truth.
I'm just sad.
A lot of money.
I'm so sad.
That should be the new line. It sounds callous.
It sounds
because
callous.
It is.
It might sound callous.
Not because it sounds it. It's because it is. It's heartless. It is completely genocidal.
Can I also say that the idea of even drawing a parallel between this and the hostages in Iran is absurd? Is absurd. First of all, Iran was not an occupied territory and like basically an outdoor prison. It was not the same relationship. We're not dealing with this is not the same balance of power. I am so tired of people drawing a comparison like this is a conflict. This isn't a conflict. It's an occupation. You have to have another group of people incarcerated in an open air prison to be able to compare it. This is not a conflict. There are not two sides. This isn't remotely even. And I always think of I have the image on my phone for anybody who knows we love Seinfeld. This is Kramer in Karate Class to me. It is. This is Kramer in Karate Class. And when I see these friggin' Ashkenazi white, like settler people that are sitting in the Middle East, basically just like sitting there uninvited, I might add. And they're just sitting there and they have the nerve to be talking about the people who are rightfully supposed to be there. And I'm just looking at these people and it's again, the caucasity, the complete caucasity of these people. It's infuriating. It's disgusting. And they absolutely 1,000% think of Arabs, not just Palestinians, by the way, as lesser than. When you hear them referring to them as animals, that's just par for the course. That's how they've talked about them forever. That is how they think about them. And for them to say it's anything else is just disingenuous. They have been looking for a reason. And to me, this is very similar to 9/11, where regardless of what your thoughts are on whether or not we participated in it, who was behind, whatever your thoughts are in terms of that, there's no doubt that we capitalized on it to basically do what we wanted to do anyway. And that's this, regardless of whether Netanyahu knew, regardless, like none of that is really what we're talking about. But this was definitely a pretext to do something they wanted to do anyway. This is not, like, they're not doing this in self-defense. This isn't self-defense.
The fact that Egyptian intelligence has been leaking information that is getting out there, and it's entirely reasonable to believe that Netanyahu knew about the Hamas attack 3 days before it happened and did nothing to prevent it, did nothing to sound the alarm. So you sometimes just have to wonder if these things are done intentionally. There were reports that the Bush administration knew at least a month, if not 2 months in advance, of bin Laden's intent to attack America with the use of planes. Yeah. This was known way in advance. And we all know what happened on September 10th, 2001, with the initial auditing by Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld with the Pentagon. $2 trillion in unaccounted money. And then the very next day, 9/11 happens.
Again, we don't need to go into how or why, but Metal wants to know, did Hamas dig up the water and sewage pipes to make missile fuselages? Maybe. What would you do if you were born in captivity? What would you do? I love when people. Has
anybody seen The Matrix?
I love when people say, like, and I do get this a lot from fellow tribes people here about, well, they dig tunnels. Yeah. How are they supposed to get out? Because I got to tell you, if I were born in captivity and were being raised in those conditions, not only would I want to get out, I'd want to go kill my oppressor. I'd want to go kill my oppressor, because the amount of people who are watching their family members suffer and their children die from things that would not be a death sentence anywhere else, but because they're living in captivity, the level of rage and anger that I would feel. And I look at so many people that are in Palestine, like people that I've seen talking on the news and whatever. I can't believe how gracious they are. I got to tell you, I'd be digging tunnels and shooting people and setting off bombs. I would have been killed really early on. I'd be somebody that would probably be killed in my teen years. But I don't want to hear, did they build missiles? Hopefully, because what would you do if you were born in captivity?
The good news is that there is some hope out there, and we're going to show you right now why. There have been marches all over the country over the last 3 days in lieu of Israel's invasion of Gaza.
Put up JVP. Jewish Voice for Peace. So guys, and we put it up earlier before, I don't know if you noticed, but Jewish Voice for Peace is one of the organizations.
Where? No, that's all.
No, I put it in the comments, and then you had stuck it in.
No, I know, but that was like at the very beginning.
Okay, yeah.
So
all right, so we can put it in again. It's just jewishvoiceforpeace.org.
Okay.
And they are the organization. I'm a member. I encourage anybody who is tribe, who has any amount to get, it's $18 to join for the year, okay, to join Jewish Voice for Peace. But they're having regular, like it's been daily, Zoom meetings and calls and solidarity and really fighting. On Wednesday, JVP is having a huge action outside the White House. I wish I could be there. Honestly, if there was any way for me, I just found out about it yesterday, and if there was any way for me to reasonably do it, I would. But guys, Jewish Voice for Peace is amazing organization. They have a lot of good information, and you will have access to really cool meetings. So, and the truth is, you don't have to be Jewish. You don't have to be Jewish. Please support Jewish Voice for Peace. I'm a big fan. But anyway, they are behind a lot of these protests.
So here we go.
Yeah, I'm not sure where all of those locations were, but I'm just very pleased that is going on. And guys, yeah, Jewish Voice for Peace is just it's great. And I'm sure there are a lot of really good other solidarity organizations for people. And, by all means, whatever your Palestinian, group, the people that that are helping, that's.
You know what has to happen, guys? Because tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are going to be led to their slaughter. There has to be a political price in this country that is paid for this. I am not sugarcoating when I say that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has blood on her hands.
Well, she does so many wars anyway.
But this is something directly where she has made it very clear that she couldn't be more pro-Israel, as in kill Palestinians, as humanly possible.
No, she is absolutely cheering on a genocide. These people are on the wrong side of history. They will be on the wrong side of history. I am very confident in that.
When they come out and say that we have to defeat Hamas.
Exactly.
But they are fully aware of what's happening. And they know. They're not stupid. They know exactly how these attacks are going down. They are not seeking out Hamas. They are raining death from above, which means dropping bombs on people indiscriminately. And who do you think is going to get hit? People that are not trained in tactical warfare, that are just trying to survive in a place where they can't go anywhere. They're just stuck. And we are people that are on the outside looking in. We are not people who are in elected federal office. Wasserman Schultz has been in the elected federal seat of Broward County, Florida for 20 freaking years. And the second she got to, this wasn't even an evolution for her when she got to Congress. The second she was there, she was as pro-war, pro-military industrial complex, pro-Israel as you can possibly be. And because her political clout, if you will, has been severely limited over the past several years, she really believes that this is an opportunity for her to gain political points.
It is. It is an opportunity.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.